We've been looking at charts. We've seen various kinds of charts. We've looked at the line chart, the area chart, the bar chart, the column charts, the pie charts. So we've looked at these charts and the XY scatter chart. Do we know about the XY scatter or the scatter plot? Scatter plot is another type of chart, which we've not done the scatter plots, right? Am I right? We haven't done the scatter plots, have we?
I don't think so, sir.
Yes, we haven't. Okay, so today we're just going to look at the scatter plots, and also we are going to look at histograms. Yeah, and that's it. So how do we plot the scatter plots? Let's begin with the scatter plots. The scatter plot should not be confused with the line charts. The purpose of the scatter plot is different from that of the line charts. Okay. If you remember, we did say that the line chart is used for what? We said it's used mostly for time series data. Okay. While the scatter plot is used for investigating and visualizing relationship between variables. Usually used for dependent relationships between variables. For example, let's say you want to see the relationship between the score of a student in maths and the score of the score of the students in maths and in English. Let's say you want to see the relationship. You can use a scatter plot for that. Okay, you can use a scatter plot for that. So let's say we have maths, we have English, I want to see. Let's just quickly generate some random variables. Let's say run between 45, 90, sorry. So let's say, for instance, we want to see um, the nature of the relationship between the score of students in maths and the score of students in English in a particular class. What are the possibilities of the outcome of that? I'm asking now, what are the possibilities of the outcome of such investigation?
I think it helps for you to know the performance of the students in maths and in English, whether the student is doing well, they are doing well in English more than maths, and to know which of the areas they need improvement and everything.
Okay. 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 Thanks. Thanks for the good attempt. Now, you know that when you are trying to investigate relationship, the question I just asked you, we can use what we call regression analysis to solve such a problem. Now, regression analysis is used for investigating the relationship between two variables, two or more variables anyway. Now, the relationship can be, relationship, when measuring relationship, we talk of correlation, right? Correlation measures is actually used to measure the strength and direction of relationships, right? So the relationship can be positive, yeah? The relationship now can be positive, it can be negative, it can be what else? Strong, can be weak. Okay. Positive means that when those that do well in maths also do well in English, and those that do poorly in maths also do poorly in English, that's a positive relationship. But when those that do better in maths tend to perform more poorly in English, and those that do well in maths, those that don't do well in maths tend to do well in English, that's negative relationship, negative correlation. The correlation can be strong, can be weak. Now, all this can actually be investigated. All this can be done or ascertained by using scatter plots. Okay, but we won't go into the full details of correlation and regression right now because that's not the topic we are looking at. We are just looking at how to plot charts, generally, right? Okay, so to do a scatter plot with this, you just highlight, and then as usual, you go to data. Where do we go from here? Insert what? You come to the chart section, click on scatter, insert scatter, that's XY or bubble chart. Okay, if I click on this, gives me that the chart don't seem to they don't seem to be aligned, right? So the relationship here is not likely to be strong. It's not likely to be strong. Okay, but let's see. So after creating your scatter plot, you go to your chart elements, click the plus sign, let's see how we can do a few things here. If you go to trend line, you insert a trend line. Can you see the nature of the line? Hmm? There are different type of trend line, but let's just look at the simplest one, which is the linear, the linear trend line. Okay. So if you want to get more information on this trend line, just click to get more options. Go to more options. You click that, you click more options. You scroll, you go down where you have display equation on charts. You choose that. That is the regression equation. That's the regression model there. Okay. You choose that. Then you can also choose the display arrow squared value on the charts. Let's choose that as well. So we can use it to explain some things. Okay, so now, I think that's enough for now. So if you look at this SY scatter, this scatter chart, the line, the trend line, the trend, is it negative or positive trend? Do you think this trend line indicates a positive relationship or negative?
Negative.
It's negative.
Negative, thank
Negative.
you. Yeah, it's negative. Why? Because the line is sloping down from left to right, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. Then you have the regression equation here. These things you are seeing, these values, these items you are seeing, they can actually be used for regression analysis. Okay. So that's the regression equation for this particular data. Okay. So when we are talking about forecasting, we'll revisit that and utilize it, but for today, we are not going to utilize the equation. Yeah, but what I just want to say here is this. I said with the scatter plots, you are able to see if it's a positive or negative relationship. So we can see that this one is a negative relationship. Then you're also able to see if the relationship is strong or weak. That's what the arrow square tells you. Okay. So if this arrow squared value is very low, is very weak, very low. Okay, this is actually like 2% or 2.29%. But when you have arrow squared of, let's say, 70% and above, 70% is like that's 0.7 and above, that's strong arrow squared value, strong relationship. This one is very weak. I said it before we display this equation that is likely to be weak. Why? Because the points are too scattered. If they were relatively aligned, then that would have been stronger. You see that the arrow square would have been a higher value. All right. So that is your regression, your scatter plot. Okay,
I
so
just want some.
is is used to investigate the relationship between variables, usually the dependency relationship, usually. Okay, this y here, this equation shows the relationship between x and y, in the form of an equation. And this can be used to compute various values of y that correspond to various values of x. So if you know the value of x, you can compute y. In other words, if you know what a student scores in like maths, you may be able to use that to compute what the student will score in English, something like that. Okay. What do we use it for? Typical example, another example is, for example, you want to investigate the relationship between advert expenses, let's say advert expenses and sales. You can do your use scatter plot to investigate that. Okay. Here, y is the dependent variable, x is the independent variable. Between advert and sales, which is the dependent and which is the independent variable? Any idea?
I think sales depends on advert. So the more you advertise, maybe the more sales you have.
Thank you. So sales is your independent variable. So if you're able to work on that, which means your y will be sales, while your x will be adverts. So x is the independent variable. Okay. So usually your independent variable is on the x-axis, your dependent variable is on the y-axis. So regression analysis is likely to be used for something like this than the example we actually did just now. Okay, this is not comparing student performance various subjects. Well, it could be applied to regression analysis, could be applied to that. But most times in such problems, all you may want to do is calculate the correlation between them, not necessarily to go as far as doing regression analysis. Okay, use regression analysis for a dependency kind of relationship, like this advert and sales. Okay, yeah. Well, you could use it for maybe school subject, maybe something like maths and physics. Somebody's performance in maths, somebody's strength in maths might have something to do with the person's strength in physics. Exactly. So you could also use it for that kind of situation. Okay, so we'll talk more about regression in some other class, not now. All right, so are we all clear with this? Can we proceed?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. Meanwhile, arrow actually stands for correlation. All right. So now let's move on. Let's talk about histograms. Before we talk about histograms, okay? Before we talk about histograms, let me ask you a question first. What is this called? Okay, last time we looked at this, right? Did you talk about this last time?
I was not in class, so I don't
You were not
know.
in class, okay. Those of us that were in class, you talk about this. What do we call this? This is a frequency distribution, right? Or frequency distribution table, isn't it? Is that right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, remember, okay.